Josh, there's a new Gauntlet coming out! Yeah, wrong one. Ugh, so close and yet so far. While the new Gauntlet made by the development team behind Magicka was a good co-op experience, gosh darn it, it's not the one I wanted. I wanted a Gauntlet Legends sequel. I want flashy special moves and ridiculous weapons Gauntlet. I want explore different themed worlds instead of just a generic brown dungeon Gauntlet. I want overly cheesy mimetic
Wizard needs food badly
Gauntlets. Gauntlet Dark Legacy, in spite of its many flaws, is my favorite game of all time, and I'm rather disappointed we haven't gotten a true sequel to it yet. I said true sequel! Anyways, I've made a lot of notes over the years about what kind of sequel I want to see, and I feel I'm finally ready to share them with all of you. Here are all, well, most of my ideas for a true Gauntlet sequel. Part 1. Characters. Gauntlet Legends started out with 4 characters: the Warrior, the Valkyrie, the Wizard, and the Archer. Each of these characters had a focus in a particular stat. Strength for Warrior, Armor for Valkyrie, Magic for Wizard, and Speed for Archer. Gauntlet Dark Legacy added 4 more characters: the Dwarf, the Knight, the Sorceress, and the Jester. For this new Gauntlet sequel, I propose we add 4 new characters: the Pirate, the Samurai, the Priest, and the Rogue. You might be wondering why I picked these particular characters. Well, all that will be explained in part 2 of this rant. Oh, that's not a second video, that's just section 2 of this video. Anyways, continuing. I want each of these characters to have a secondary stat focus. For instance, the Warriors, Dwarfs, and Pirates' primary stat would be Strength, yet their secondaries would all be different. Warriors' secondary would be Armor, Dwarfs' secondary would be Magic, and Pirates' secondary would be Speed. Each character will get 1. And since we have the technology, I really think a character creator is in order. You can design your character's name, class, skin color, eye color, hair, build, etc., and most importantly, gender. Yeah, I'm gonna say this now. There is no reason not to include male and female versions of each character. I know that sounds slightly sacrilegious considering the Valkyrie has been a staple of the series since the first game, and, well, Valkyries are supposed to only be female. I think we can change it. Alright, look, there's going to be people mad either way. I could either anger the 5 people who still know what the Gauntlet franchise is, or be accused of not being inclusive by the hordes of radical social justice types. I'm picking the 5! And besides, Bugs Bunny was a Valkyrie once. Case closed. If it's that important, we can change Valkyrie to Asgardian or Viking or something. Also, I want these characters to have more of a personality. I have plans for each character, but in the interest of time, I will only share a few. The Warrior will be the big dumb brute, his or her humor coming from their stupidity and boisterousness. The Archer will be the airheaded Fae character, his or her humor coming from their non sequiturs and odd speech patterns. The Necromancer will be the token evil teammate, his or her humor coming from their disturbing analogies and dark trains of thought. Part 2. Realms. Each character hails from a realm, which is more or less a set of levels following a particular theme, such as mountain, ice, desert, sky, etc. Going back to part 1, I picked these particular characters, Pirate, Samurai, Priest, Rogue, because I felt they had the highest potential for creative realms. The Pirate will hail from the new Ocean realm. The Samurai will hail from the new Feudal realm. The Rogue will hail from the new Wildlands realm, and the Priest will hail from the old, but revamped, Temple, or Desecrated Temple for you diehard fans. Also, I'm switching the Knight and Valkyrie's realms. It makes way more sense that way. Each of these realms will have 5 levels, 4 basic levels, and 1 boss level. There are a few levels in Dark Legacy that I feel were a little padded, so combining them or throwing them over to another realm that'll need it would work. For instance, the Mountain realm does not need both a cave and a cavern level. We can get the Lost Cave to the Wilds realm and change it up a little bit so we don't stay too long in one realm and have it become redundant. Also, the grounds and house levels for the Dream realm I feel went on a little too long, so I feel that if we shorten them and combine them, it won't be redundant. In the Gauntlet series, scattered around each realm is a secret level in which you collect coins to unlock a secret character. For this sequel, I don't think we should do that, for reasons I'll get into later. Instead of having the special levels be there to unlock the secret character, we can have them there to unlock extra costumes or cheats like Big Head mode, since no game nowadays seems to have them anymore. Come on! Where's the fun? Going back to the character creation option, I think that we should have different armor options for each world we visit. Let me explain. This is the Warrior's typical mountain costume. However, once he visits the Forest realm, it changes to this. Once he enters the desert realm, it changes to this. Once he enters the castle realm, it changes to this. Things like facial structure, hair, and skin color, those stay the same. Part 3. Bosses. I want to revamp the boss battles. Instead of having the battles just be static tests of endurance with mostly no changes to formula whatsoever during them, I say we add a little more dynamicness to them. Each boss battle will have 6 phases to them, and each phase adds something new, but not always groundbreaking. Let me explain. Stage 1 is the typical fight between you and the boss. However, after the boss loses 1/6 of their health, they gain a new attack. After losing another 1/6 for a total of 1/3, all or most of their attacks get powered up in some way. After losing another 1/6 for a total of 1/2, the battlefield changes, spawning stage hazards. After losing another 1/6 for a total of 2/3, enemy generators spawn. After losing another 1/6 for a total of 5/6, they gain a super attack. After losing another 1/6 for a total of 1, you win. That's it. Unless you had the legendary weapons. Yes, I'm including the legendary weapons as part of this segment. First change, have the legendary weapons used to beat the boss be found in the realm of that boss. Seriously, there was no reason to have the legendary weapon used to beat the level 2 boss be found in level 5. Secondly, I want to keep the effect that the legendary weapon is activated at the start of the fight and has an effect such as a barrier, continuous damage, or status effect. Thirdly, I want the legend weapon to have an effect in how you deal the final blow. Basically, having the legendary weapon also rewards the player by having the boss be destroyed in a flashier way. Oh, you guys want an example? Fine, here. The Lich of the Town Realm. Stage 1, normal attacks. Stage 2, he gets his claw grab move that holds you in place for a stun effect. Stage 3, his battle axe lengthens. Stage 4, the crypt raises upwards and the environment shifts to a stormy graveyard with lightning strikes being the stage hazard. Stage 5, the ghost and zombie minions from the realm appear and you have to destroy their generators. Stage 6, the Lich gets a super move reminiscent of Ike's Ether, but he has to grab a character in order to execute it. Then, he dead. You win. He just falls down dead boringly. Unless you have the legendary good book, which summons a giant hand from the ground that pulls the Lich down into the depths, Dr. Facilier style. Part 4, Mechanics. Let me give y'all a crash course on the basic mechanics and how you progress through Gauntlet Dark Legacy. You start the level. There are monsters in your way that usually spawn for generators that you are not required to, but probably should, destroy. Along the way, you find lots of items such as expirable weapons and gold. Also along the way are collectibles that you're going to need to progress through the game, including crystals, which unlock new realms, golden icons, which allow you to access new areas of the hub world, and runestones, which are required to access the underworld, the semi-final level. Yes, Dark Legacy is a game for those who like to collect shiny things. But I'd like to make a few changes. While I like the idea of grabbing crystals to progress, they do kinda look at a place in the world, so once you've collected enough of a particular color, they just shouldn't appear. That, or just make them look better. Your stats consist of strength, speed, armor, and magic. Strength is how much damage you deal to monsters using your basic attacks. Speed is your attack rate and how fast you walk. Armor is how much damage you can defend against. Magic is how strong your potions are. As you level up your character in the older Gauntlet games, usually in increments of 10, your character would receive upgrades, like a familiar and special effects for your potions. Here's a problem. One of the biggest issues that Gauntlet had was that the characters, aside from stats, were all essentially the same character, just with reskins. I personally didn't mind it, but I know people nowadays are going to mind it. I say, to combat this, we introduce a talent system. Every 10 levels, you get a point to spend for a perk. These perks include familiars that give special effects, possibly upgrades for that, special effects for your potions, passive effects like health regeneration or permanent upgrades, etc. This way, we can have the priest feel like a traditional RPG priest, or the warrior feel like a traditional RPG warrior, while not sacrificing the basic feel of Gauntlet. Another thing that needs to happen is post-game. Once you cleared a round, enemies pretty much stayed at the same level through the whole game. There wasn't much reason to go back unless you missed something. I think for this new Gauntlet sequel, we should have all monsters get leveled up to the same level to better match your skill level after you complete the game. Since I want this to be online as well, we should introduce leaderboards that measure players' skills against their friends. Gauntlet never really had much of a score system, but we can introduce some easy parameters such as level completion time, score that includes bonuses such as completing a level without using potions or items, damage taken and dealt, enemies defeated, etc, etc, etc. You don't even know what I referenced, do you? Part 5, Gameplay. Here's how I want the next Gauntlet to control, and I will be using a PS4 controller for this example. Square will be your basic attack, triangle will be your strong attack, X will be guard, circle will be a new command, interact. A couple times I've accidentally bumped the chest or gate or switch that I didn't want to, so I feel having a button deal with those actions would be prudent. You cycle through your menus with the D-pad, left and right select items, up and down turn them on and off. R2 is strafe. L2 will be a new feature that incorporates the secret characters from the previous 2 Gauntlet games, but unlike the old games, where you unlock them and have to start the game all over again, in this new one, you instead expend turbo to transform into the secret characters temporarily, which gives you heightened stats. For instance, if you play as the warrior and you have full turbo and press L2, he will transform into the Minotaur and the turbo gauge will slowly deplete. And once it reaches 0, you skip to the next level. No, you just turn back into your normal state. What's wrong with you? Here's where I want to deviate the most from the typical controls. Magic in Gauntlet is dependent upon potions, and there are many things you can do with them. I want holding L1 to activate the magic controls. For instance, holding L1 and square will make you use your potion like normal. It just shoots out. L1 and triangle will make you throw the potion. It's going to be a bit weaker since you threw it, but small sacrifice. L1 and circle will have you gain a temporary effect for your weapon, such as the amulets, and L1 and X will give you a potion shield that protects a little against damage and hurts people trying to touch you. And let's talk about the turbo system. For those that don't know, the turbo gauge is a defining feature of Gauntlet. It's a meter that continuously fills and allows you to unleash special attacks. I want holding R1 to toggle the turbo moves that each character has, and each of these moves costs a bit of turbo. R1 plus square will do the character's surrounding special move, which will cost about half your gauge. R1 plus triangle will do the character's blast special move, which costs almost all of it. R1 plus circle will do the team's special moves, which cost about half. R1 plus X will deflect projectiles, which won't cost too much, but still something. We have your basic miscellaneous controls such as movement being controlled by the left stick, camera being controlled by the right stick, pausing with the touchpad, R3 centers the camera, L3 toggles the compass. Yeah, I saved the boring stuff for the end, you're welcome. Part 6, Modes. Here are some options for gameplay that I want to see added as modes. One in particular that I want to see that I haven't seen done before is one where your total health is shared amongst all 4 players in a large pool. Basically, the classic mode would be capitalist mode, and this new mode would be socialist mode. Jokes aside, I really think this will make the experience a little more dynamic. Socialist mode, because I can't think of a better name right now, sue me, would allow for different strategies, such as having one character in high armor soak up all the damage. But in socialist mode, there are higher consequences if one character happens to not be as good as everyone else. Instead of one character dying like in capitalist mode, you would all die in socialist mode. Adding difficulty levels would also be a good idea. We would have Trial, which would give you faster turbo regeneration and slower enemies, Challenge, which would be the basic mode, Crucible, which gives you slower turbo regeneration and faster enemies, and finally, Gauntlet, which also has the slow turbo, no power-ups, faster enemies, and friendly fire. Also, adding options such as Dark Legacy mode, in which you are restricted to the abilities that you can use in Gauntlet Dark Legacy, and Legends mode, in which you are restricted to the abilities that you can use in Gauntlet Legends. That way, the masochists, tryhards, expert players, can give themselves a larger degree of challenge, and if they show their friends and their friends don't like it, they can tell them get good. It's how the internet works these days. These are all my basic ideas for a new Gauntlet sequel. I know there's very little chance of this game actually being made, but I still felt the need to say something. You see, I have a ton of great memories with this franchise, and I want other people to at least get a shred of the great feelings and camaraderie I had. What the heck, Jeremy? I opened the chest! What did you steal an item, you son of a...
God